You're somehow seen as a weird person. If you have a flip phone instead of a smartphone like everyone, you're also seen, you're also, people will make claims that you're isolating yourself if you don't have social media. I mean, people don't say that anymore, but that's what they were saying just 8 years ago. If you don't have social media, then you're isolating yourself from others. And social media is one of the most isolating things you could think of. And somehow you're considered a loser and a bum if you are 28 years old and still living with your parents. As if moving out of the house at the age of 18 was a good idea, because it has been scientifically proven that being 18 years old technically still makes you a kid because you're not growing up yet. You haven't grown up fully. Your brain hasn't developed 100%. Not like it does when you're 25, which is when it fully develops. Also, you're seen as a weird person for being a vegetarian. You're treated as some weird alien because you're a vegetarian, and they just assume that, oh, you're not taking care of your health. I also hate in society that, you know, men, just because a man is known for being strong or whatever, that we automatically have to be the protectors of women. As if women can't even take care of themselves. Like, they have self defense weapons, whether it's pepper spray or a gun, and they can hold their own job. They're allowed to vote, own property, and even own business. So, why does society still tell us that us men need to protect women? And that we're also told that, we have to be like the providers, the protectors for women, this and that. We should be protectors for our own children. That I can agree with. But with these traditional gender roles, like in the 1950s, times have changed. Like, men and women don't even want to conform to these roles anymore. I thought people had their own preferences, but people in society are brainwashed to believe that if you don't follow the norms of society, then you are somehow a very backwards, very primitive person who's somehow stuck in the past. I don't, I mean, I don't see it. You have a flip phone. If you're a millennial who uses a flip phone, you're considered backwards. And I'll never understand with this way of thinking. But it doesn't make you backwards just because you don't have a certain device. What makes you backwards is the fact that, you use smartphones most of the time, and you spend 150 hours a week, staring at the smartphone. What makes you backwards is using social media and talking with people on social media and falling under this illusion that somehow you're connecting with people, when in reality you're not. That's not how you connect with people. You connect by actually going outside and having personal face-to-face interaction. But if you don't do that, then you'll get used to social media, and then you're going to be socially awkward. So I don't believe that. Also, what I also find a little strange is, you know, if you're like someone who's really close with his parents, you're somehow seen as a loser because you're like too clingy with them. I can't agree to that. I can't. At least a mama's boy has standards, and he actually has loyalty to his family, and he has a good moral standing when it comes to family structure. Daddy's boy, mama's boy. They just brainwashed to be like, people in society are brainwashed to believe that they're somehow bums and losers who never want to leave the parents, and they don't want to be independent. They just want to mooch off of them. I'd rather be a mama's boy than a loser with daddy issues. The thing that really bothers me the most is when people in society make claims that if you are mentally slow, then somehow you're not smart, or they call you a retard for being a slow person because you don't grasp information as fast as the normal person, and you need to read, or maybe you may need to understand information after reading the same thing after 200 times or so. Not all brains were designed the same way. That's why you have schizophrenics and psychopaths and sociopaths and people with attention deficit disorder, attention hyperactive deficit disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I mean, and another thing that I think is very backwards in society is when people say that you shouldn't be nice to people. Don't be nice. Because people in society are under the idea that kindness is a sign of weakness. Being mean, or should I say, quote unquote, douchebag, that's the biggest sign of weakness right there. Because misery loves company, and you're trying to get people uh, to be a part of your misery. Misery loves company. Don't drag other people into your own misery. You're miserable. You can wallow in your grief, wallow in your misery, wallow in your bitterness, but don't bring others into it. So if you're a nice and kind-hearted person, if that's what you're good at doing, then all right, that's fine. You should stick with that. And besides, nice people, they're the ones you have to look out for. At the end of the day, when you push their boundary, they might just snap at you and you'll never even see it coming. So look out. Oh, and I also hate it when in society when we're somehow told that when a man cries, he's weak and pathetic and spineless. Alpha males have cried and never shied away from showing their true feelings or their emotions. A man crying is a manly man. He's an alpha male. I mean, prophets, kings, and rulers of our time throughout the course of human history, and even warriors weren't even afraid to cry, shed tears. I don't even care if you're a Genghis Khan or the legendary Viking like Ragnar Lothbrok. You're allowed to cry because last I checked, it's not just something women do, it's a human emotion. I'm not saying like, if somebody popped a balloon or took candy from you, then it's okay to cry, but because that's very meaningless. Because, like I said, it's a human emotion. But if you're not afraid to show your emotions, and if you're not afraid of your vulnerable emotions, then if anything, that makes you brave because you're not afraid of your own emotions. When you bottle it up, you're afraid to express it. So when people say that, oh, this man is crying, then that means he's weak or spineless. No, real men cry. And real men also show compassion, and they're also kind. It's not just even in men, but even alpha males in the animal kingdom, whether it's primates or other animals. The alpha males, they show compassion. They show care. They show concern when another animal is hurt within their community. And the same thing goes with humans, turns out. Oh, let's not forget another thing. when you go against the grain of society, that's how trends start, and that's how revolutions start. Revolutions and trends occur as a result of someone doing something different. That's why it's called thinking outside the box, not being stuck in some bubble that seems to be impossible to pop with a needle. What's the point? That's why ideas exist. That's why thinking outside of the box is an expression that's used quite loosely when it comes to like coming up with creative ways to solve problems, whether it's saving money or whatever it may be. But to be told that you're this and you're that. I mean, when society dictates what you should do, and when society dictates what's normal and what's not normal, then that means society's not normal. It's not. I mean, to some extent, there is a level of common sense left in this world and in society. So really, I just don't believe in this idea that society should dictate how you behave and they dictate what's normal. Because a lot of things that society is doing nowadays is not normal at all. I mean, I mean, it's like even with this whole peer pressure thing. I mean, you're considered a coward if you don't buckle into peer pressure or any form of pressure whatsoever. So it's time to think outside the box. And for people telling you what you should or shouldn't be, and for society to dictate what or how you should be. I mean, to some extent, society is right, but in many other aspects, society is very wrong. Just because something is trendy doesn't mean you have to be a part of it. Because you're more of an interesting person when you go your own way. By going your own way, I mean like keeping a low profile, being more mysterious, not being so open, that sort of thing. But when you just follow everybody in society, you're a sheep following the herd. So with that being said, when you go against the norms of society, it's not always a bad thing. But somehow when people say that you're weird for doing something that nobody else is doing. I mean, I know some people who still use VHS VCRs. They don't have a DVD player. They use VCRs. They still have basic cable like they did from like 19 years ago. And there are some people out there who don't even have a phone. They don't have a cell phone. They don't even have a landline. They don't have cell phones at all. They don't have a telephone of any kind, not even rotary phones. Like you keep the ones that you keep spinning around. The phones that you saw from like 1956. Same thing goes with a lot of other things. I mean, some people live at home and they don't have a TV. They spend most of the time like gardening or reading books or doing puzzles or playing Sudoku by themselves or whatever it is. Something that's mentally what's it called stimulating. Besides, they say TV is not really all that good for you anyway. In a 2001 article from the BBC, it's actually linked to Alzheimer's anyway, because you're not doing anything mentally stimulating. You're not exercising your brain. And believe me, you tell somebody that when I buy a house, I'm not going to have TV when I move out of my parents' house. If you tell them I'm not having TV, I don't want TV in my house. I don't want TV in my household. But they're going to say like, wow, that's very weird. That's very strange. Even if they don't say it, they're gonna think that you're very weird because you're not gonna have TV in your house. They 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 call TV the idiot box for a reason. So I mean, do you want to be an idiot, or do you want to take care of your brain and have what's left of it intact? These aren't really judgments by society. It's pure brainwashing, is what it is. It's brainwashing because if you don't follow their norms or their standards, somehow you're weird. And they also dictate and they determine what's attractive. As if anyone has the right to determine that. If you don't have money, you're not attractive. If you're not 6'3", you're not attractive. If you don't have a certain bust size or bust size, you're not attractive. You know, if your face doesn't look a certain way, or if you don't have certain curves, then you're not considered attractive. Or if you don't wear any makeup, you're not attractive. You know, um, as a woman, if you don't cook for a man, then somehow you're not attractive because that's considered the deal breaker. If you don't have a career as a man, you're not attractive. If you don't have a college degree and you're working towards getting a college degree, you're not attractive. It's considered a deal breaker. If you're not like, um, if you're a skinny, scrawny looking guy who has a good heart and is assertive, you're not attractive because once again, being being a skinny guy means that you're a weak man. And there's nothing right about this way of thinking. It's very backwards and primitive. So with that being said, society can dictate a lot of things, but they can't dictate what's attractive. They can't dictate what's right and wrong for you. And they also can't dictate how you should live your life. They can't do that. Telling you need a smartphone? No, I don't think so. Telling you need social media? No, I don't need social media. I don't have social media. I can live without it. I haven't had Facebook or Twitter or any of these things in like 10 years almost. My life has been so much better since I erased them. So why people say that you're backwards is beyond me. If you told somebody that you want to live off the grid and you want to live like the Amish people, they're going to say that you're weird and you're somehow like this freak of nature for having a different way of thinking, as if this is somehow a radical way of thinking. And yet, the same people who look at you strangely and assume that you're somehow a weirdo for thinking these things, they're the same people who are willing to go to war. They're the same people who believe in revenge. Those are the same people who support war, believe in holding grudges, believe in revenge. And they will tell you those are the same people that refuse to accept an apology if you hurt them or did something bad or said something horrible. And they themselves think that if you got hurt, then you shouldn't forgive them. As if forgiveness is somehow a form of weakness. Forgiveness is strength. Holding on to bitter resentment and being mad at the person who hurt you or even murdered somebody that was near and dear to you, that's somehow considered strength and that's somehow reasonable. Forgiveness is strength. Holding a grudge and being bitter for the rest of your life or holding on to that kind of negativity for decades. That's a form of weakness, and that's not how you survive in this world. Well, in conclusion, society is backwards and still primitive in their mindset. So that's just how it is. I'd like to think outside the box. But everyone else seems to be in this protective bubble, and they can't even pop it with a needle. I mean, let that go. Think outside the box. Or better yet, be a revolutionary. That's the point of thinking outside the box. But for all the others out there, enjoy being in your little box. Enjoy being in your little cage. Enjoy being stuck in your little bubble. But it's up to you. Either be brainwashed or enlightened. You choose. Well, once again, society is primitive and backwards, and I seem to be far ahead of everybody else. Seems to be the case. But it's not even about me being ahead. Just an observation from my experience. That's all.